Y'all
All right,
need it.
I'm
Y'all
ready.
need it. I'm finna,
We are live. We are live. We are live.
Okay, let's go. I'm sorry. We are live on Black Money Matters.
Black Money Matters. Welcome to another episode of Black Money Matters, and thank you again for joining us. My name is Jameca Patrick.
Karen Weaver
We are here
with Mr. El Presidente,
Mr. President.
Mr. President of the Flint Board of Education, Michael Clack.
How you doing
Hey
today?
everybody, I'm good. How are you?
And you know what? I want people to go to their pages and share this. Go and share this because this will be some good information.
So
And
let me
so
do that.
tune in and share. Let me just say that. And you know what, Mr. President?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me say thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Because I'm just going to tell you, I was watching that meeting yesterday.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see all of it. I had to go back today to finish watching.
Listen, the way those meetings going, you gonna be TikTok famous.
Nobody's asking what that means. Do you all know what that means?
I do not want to be TikTok famous.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you. Michigan State Police investigating payout to former Flint school's employee.
Mm-hmm. And I
Okay.
say that jokingly and lightly, and I know you don't want to be. That's nobody's goal. I don't think around these matters, but I say that to say that meeting was a little hot.
Yeah.
It was a little hot,
Mm-hmm.
and some things happened. And
Yes.
like Mayor said, now we're seeing, all across our news feeds, Michigan State Police investigating. So let's just jump right in. What's going on? What happened?
Because you dropped a bomb.
I did.
You did, but sometimes that's what you have to do.
At least that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what I think. Now,
Okay.
My rationale is if something was wrong, then it'll be found. If something was not wrong, then all this is for nothing. So, hopefully all this is for nothing. Hopefully.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Hopefully I misread things and, and we just have this investigation and everything will go. But I do know that some suspicions were raised of mine, and I thought that it'd be best if I check it out.
Check out to look into it. Let the folks who do investigations
investigate.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Let me ask you this: what led you to do this? What was happening that stood out, and you said we have a problem here, or at least it looks like we do, and the authorities need to be brought in?
Actually, our good buddy Trevor called me one day, and he asked me, Mike, have you seen the audit? And, this was not too long after we became board members. We were sworn in. And, of course, I hadn't. I was just still basking in my glory of being elected. So, no, I had not seen the audit and been through it. So Trevor called and he told me that I need to look at the findings and look at the recommendations. And so I did that, and I started getting curious. And so I started asking questions, and I started, trying to put 2 and 2 together, and once I did that, 2 and 2 started to equal 11.
That doesn't add up.
You didn't even say 2 and 2 equal 5.
No.
It wasn't even a little bit.
Right. So there were some things that were in the audit that raised my, that made me kind of question some other things.
Okay, so you know what that makes me think now. Weren't you going to be treasurer?
That was the plan.
Okay.
That was what I planned. That was the plan. And because I had gone through the budget, not the audit, before when I was, before I was elected, when I was, just when I was a regular, citizen, I had gone through the audit. The budget. And what kind of made me question some things was when I saw that there was only $200,000 and some odd allocated for the athletic fund for the entire district. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. How can we be, have a successful football track, whatever teams that we have, if we only allocate,
this amount of money, right?
$30,000 or $40,000 for athletics. And I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't even sound right. Like this is, even if it is right, our district can't be competitive in anything with that small amount of money that's allocated for sports. And this is Flint, and everybody here we are known for basketball.
Right.
We have
football,
band,
right?
Those type of things. So we haven't heard anything about a good football team since was it Mark Ingram, and I'm not even sure that we had a good team then. I know we had a couple of good players,
Right.
But a good team. I mean, like Northern with Robert and Mateen and going to the state, the state championship, and Central going to the state championship. Things like that. So we haven't heard anything like that since the '90s. So, so in my mind, as a student athlete of graduate from Southwestern, I'm thinking they don't have the opportunity if we're not putting the money. Why wouldn't they go to Davidson or Grand Blanc or any one of these other schools that have successful sports programs? So that's what raised my suspicion at first.
You started looking at the budget,
and that's why I wanted to be treasurer.
Follow the money. That's right.
So
and that's why maybe they didn't want you to be treasurer.
Well.
I don't know.
That is. I can't say. Maybe that's why. But again,
but as president, you get to look at things.
I get to look at everything.
Right.
Whatever I would, I get to look at everything. So
So walk us through. You went and turned this. How did you do this? What happened? And then there's some questions on here already.
Okay.
Yes.
So what happened was I went through the audit, and I'm looking at the recommendations. And I'm reading through the findings, and there were some things that stuck out. And I'm like, whoa, this is the school district. How are we doing? Are we doing this? And this is not. And this is a recommendation. And this is a recommendation. How are we functioning like this with these things in this audit? And the good thing about it was we actually had the auditor firm come speak to us yesterday during the meeting.
Okay.
So she explained
I saw that.
Yeah, she explained some things and made some things a little more clear. But even then, some things that she said were in question by another board member. So.
Well, I'm gonna just ask this question: how do you go from somebody supposedly they're supposed to get paid a little bit over $6,000
Yes, ma'am.
to $60,000? Now, okay, how does that work?
Who
does that?
Well, I will tell you from what I discovered, from how the play unfolded, from what I know, and this is just me. I'm just one person with 4 eyes, so I can see
with 4 eyes.
I mean, I can watch this, and then I can see this, and then just by me knowing how things are supposed to go, or my recollection of how things are supposed to go, a retirement payout does not normally go to a board for a vote.
And that's one of the questions. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, a retiree's payout it's something that goes through the human resources department, and they put together the retirement packages, or however that may go. I don't know. Never worked in HR,
right?
But I do know that it is unprecedented for a retiree to come before a retiree's retirement payout to come before the board. And my best guess is that the board wasn't aware of the amount that they were voting on. They were under the assumption that they were voting to maybe expedite her payment to come to her because of specific, a former board member said, are we voting for her to get this now or after she retires? So I'm assuming that they were voting, to expedite. I don't think that they knew that they were voting to approve a $60,000 payout. And my best guess, I don't think that they knew. So once that happened, well, I already said it now. So the former treasurer raised the motion.
The former treasurer, that was Laura McIntyre.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, she sought support. The video is not really that. You can't really see who was sitting on the side.
Okay.
But I do know who was sitting on the side. But I know Laura read the treasurer. She read the motion, and she sought the motion, and the former president,
which was Joyce McNeil.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
She raised the motion, and then another board member, who's not in camera, supported it.
Okay.
So, once that happened, they went on with whatever, and then the next meeting, another board member, former trustee Pastor Gilbert, he made a few statements, and that's what stuck out to me. What he said was, I don't like to look stupid. Y'all made me look stupid, and y'all tricked us. So
y'all, who's that?
Y'all would be allegedly the people who the people who sought the motion raised the motion, and and so because that's how it unfolded.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
So when that happened, and then we started once we became board members, there started to be retirees to come out and say, hey, well, even that pastor, even that trustee said, hey, when I got home, I started getting calls from retirees saying, what are you doing? Like, we didn't get $60,000. We got $6,000. We want our money.
Right.
So
want my $54,000.
Yeah. So of course, so the precedent, this is unprecedented. This never happened before not as far as anyone that I know or that's been involved in the Flint schools can say, hey, this person got $60,000. This person got $60,000, or this person got $8,000. Whatever the situation.
Was there ever any rationale for why this one person got an extra zero added to their check?
Well, from listening to the meetings and listening to the comments, the people, the board members said that she's done a good job and she deserved it and she's worked for 30 years and she worked hard and she did whatever they needed to whatever.
As does every retiree.
Yes, ma'am.
Like that's the whole.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. And so no one, when I ask around, no one ever really says this is the reason why or this is the reason why. It's always kind of a gray area in there. You know what I mean?
Y'all just giving some money away.
Hey.
So look, okay, here's a question. They said at the meeting that they wanted her to get what was owed.
Oh, yes.
So they went around the superintendent.
From what was gathered at the last meeting on March 15th, when I announced that we were going to do the investigation, or when we sought the motion, or when we sought support or whatnot, and everybody voted unanimously to do the investigation. Let me see. The superintendent said, he specifically said, the retiree came to me and asked me for her payout. And he said, no, you can't get that. That's not what you're supposed to get, or something along those lines. And she went and said, okay, well, she went around him and went to the former board president, from what I gathered. And they went and did what they did after that. So that's how we got to where we are. So again,
Jameca.
Policy says that, a retiree with X amount of years of experience receives $6,250 as a payout. Okay. How the whole thing reached 10 times that amount, I still haven't gotten a definite answer or a reason how or why.
Mickey, I'm befuddled. Let me just say that I'm befuddled because how does that happen?
Yeah. So I
So isn't there a CFO? I mean, nobody. CFO said okay. So everybody. How did that happen?
I haven't. Well, we no longer have a CFO.
That's what you're trying.
Yeah,
well, you know
CFO.
what? Oh, you know what you should do? The city got one from a temp agency. You all should go to
I said we didn't win. Let me just digress 1 second. So you mean to tell me the city
with the Kelly Services?
That's what I was telling
manpower.
So you
I said we didn't went from having a CFO from Harvard to getting one from Manpower.
Okay, we
digress. There's nothing wrong with Manpower and Kelly Services. Because,
and there's absolutely
and you better not have one running the money of the
right.
district.
So,
but I'm just saying we have
Stanford, Harvard
graduate, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're back.
We're back.
We're back. We digress.
So can I ask a couple of these? Because there are questions.
There are questions in here.
So someone says, has she been asked to return the difference?
That I'm not sure yet.
That's a good question.
I'm not sure yet.
Because wouldn't you know that you weren't supposed to get that amount of money?
Well, more than likely you would know. You know, I mean, you get it.
You
know what your payout is. You know what your payout is supposed to be, but you get that check and you got another zero behind it.
They should do the happy dance.
Yeah, I would.
And then so someone else said, and these are questions and comments. Per Laura McIntyre's statement from Flint Beat, it's a waste of public resources, as she told Flint Beat. There's a lot of other things that can be investigated. I have absolutely nothing to hide, but there's information that already exists and is out there that should be brought to the light to the public. This whole process is just very confusing to me, and it reeks of political assassination.
I guess I'm supposed to be trying to
I was going to
assassinate
say,
somebody's political career.
what happened when you did that? What was the response? Because I didn't see that piece of it
As far as
from the board members, the other board members. I mean, they all voted for the investigation
yes,
to
ma'am,
take place, but were they happy?
At first, there's a certain few that didn't want me to announce the findings after they, made a abrupt outburst after a meeting when they, where's the specific words quote was, what's the update on the investigation, President Clack? And this was a week to the day after we announced that we were going to have a launch an investigation. So anyone knows this. I didn't know it either, but it's going to take more than a week because people have to be interviewed and documents have to be FOIA'd or whatnot or researched. I'm not sure how it goes. I'm just assuming because again, I've never been involved in anything like this. But a week, a week to the day. How do you come and there's not. If no one's spoken to somebody that's directly involved, then the investigation is fairly young. It's fresh.
Right,
So,
it's fresh.
Yes.
Well, then another question or comment says there was a limit, a cap. They came out and showed it. And then they said that lost days stuff, all of it, had a contracted set cap on it. So is the cap the $3,000?
I'm not exactly sure. I know that from what I can remember, that's in the contract that is a certain amount of dollars, and then there's $50 per day to a certain amount, and then total the max would be $6,250 for a non-union employee that's with 10 years of experience. I think that's what it specifically says. Now, don't quote me on that, everybody. So I don't have any documentation in front of me, but I think from all the reading I've done, I'm pretty sure that that's what it says, somewhere along those lines.
Okay.
So do you feel supported? Do you feel like you got the support that you needed from everybody as far as this goes? Because I would think that some people would be angry with you.
I know there's a lot of people that's upset.
Yeah.
But then again, I didn't get into this game to be friendly. I didn't get into this game to make friends. I didn't get into this. I got into this to try to make this district back to turn it around. That's why I got into this.
And when people read and hear about these kinds of things going on, I mean, it just builds up this mistrust.
Extra hate. People get upset. People blame.
Take things personal.
Yeah, and then you can attest for this. When people can say things that aren't true, and then your whole background could be based on this mistruth or untruth or whatever. So that's how you are not the mayor anymore because somebody said something about you that wasn't true, and everybody in the world believed it. So
not in the world.
I mean, everybody. I'm sorry.
No, it's true. It's true. That's what happened. And but you know what? It's funny because this is what happens is that they don't want you to do that kind of thing. We just had this conversation actually with Erica Alexander. They said how they'll try to make an example out of you so other people won't want to come forth and do what you're doing now because of the backlash that you get and everything you have to deal with. But you saw something that was wrong and you spoke out about it and said, investigate. Let's see what's happening.
Yes.
I just feel like what really is striking to me, and I did not know, this is the part I didn't know before we got on the air today, and that is that the superintendent, the person that the board puts in place to oversee and make decisions on behalf of the entire board, that they went around him. That right there feels like it warrants an investigation because you're going outside of procedure. Why is that? And even if you have to go around some, because I mean, we've all gone above somebody's head to get the right thing done, it always circles back to that person. Your boss will come and say, listen, why aren't you doing that? I need you to do it. It's not that decisions are made around you, especially in a situation like a school board. We're not talking about, I guess I would say like a typical job. We're talking about a system job where the decisions are impacting our kids. Why don't we have that $50,000 could have went for some athletic gear? $60,000.
Let's get those numbers right.
Yeah, so
well, I was thinking of like the 54.
Right.
On top of it.
No, there is policy set for that. They went around it. They whatever they did, I'm not sure exactly what they did. We're gonna find out.
Well, you weren't there.
Yeah, I wasn't there.
You weren't there.
I just have.
But you can smell a rat.
Yes, and I took it upon myself when I saw what I saw to make the necessary moves. I started gathering information, and and we voted unanimously. And again, I'm speaking on behalf of myself, not the district, because I gathered that information. There was nobody else. I don't want to put any other board members in. This was me.
Right.
I did this, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself. So, again, I know there are going to be some people, maybe some board members are going to say I'm speaking on behalf of the board, which I'm not. This was an act that was done solely by myself.
Okay.
So I saw something that I didn't think was right, and I decided to look into it.
Well, like I said, I'm gonna go back to. I was watching yesterday. There was quite a bit of confusion on a lot of things yesterday. It really was. I was amazed.
Yeah,
I was amazed. I watched that meeting yesterday.
I knew
or was it looking like confusion in order to not engage?
No, there was confusion. Well, okay, then Jameca. let's go there. So that's what it was. People not wanting to vote. I want to wait. I was watching. I think that was Tyree King's committee. I was watching. Teray. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Teray. I'm sorry because he knows I know his name. So let me just straighten that out. But I remember saying I've never heard of that before. It was just. And I never found out. I don't know what happened with the backpacks. I mean, it was just confusion. The kids are going to DC though, right?
It is in our best. That is what we hope. So yes, I did vote. I supported the DC trip.
That's the 8th graders.
Yes, ma'am.
The 8th graders.
144, I believe it is. And and I did say they do need to be. They need exposure. They need to see new things. But
they do.
They need to do it the right way. Now, if there's no chaperones, there's no parents signed up, and there's no, then we can't send 140. We can't send 4 of our kids to DC without a chaperone. You know what I mean? So 144 8th graders from Flint. We need chaperones. So.
And I didn't sign up for that one.
For
chaperone.
I did that before.
So hopefully,
it was fun. It's needed.
Yeah,
it is.
But okay, so
it's nice. You learn with your kids.
Yeah, you do. It's a wonderful experience. So here's a question. It says, "How does Mr. Clack and yourselves, I'm just hearing this, feel about the odd decision for a forensic audit on Attorney Lee?" That's a question.
Here's my thing. I am privileged to get all of the invoices, so I know what work that Attorney Lee has done, and I know what work that she has charged us for, and I know that we've got other law firms that charge us way more than what Attorney Lee charges for way less work. And I'm not saying that I'm not taking away from their workload or what they do or the quality of work. I'm not doing any of that, but I do know that if Attorney Lee was to charge us like the other firms charge us, then we'd be singing a different story. I believe she just sent us an invoice for March, and I think it was like $1,300. $1,300.
That was it.
And she said, the board paid her. The board paid Attorney Lee, I want to say it was $53,000 for 2 years worth of work. When last June and July, we paid out more than that.
I remember that. And the vote saying that she needed to get paid.
Yes, for 2 years worth of work.
2 years worth of work.
And you all, but yet, when I say you all, I don't mean you, but I can pay. So somebody said on here, okay, I'm going to read this comment. Has she recognized, and I think this is the lady, the man, I don't know who it was, the employee that got the overpayment. Have they recognized there was a mistake made? It would be a good sport if this person, if she would come forward and give the difference back. The person knows there was a mistake made if it was against them. they would have made them aware of it.
Now, in a perfect
The right
world,
thing is just give the difference back.
in a perfect world, that's exactly what would happen. But we ain't in a perfect world, and it ain't nowhere near perfect. So here's the thing. There are some other things that I didn't get a chance to say
I will say it.
that raised my suspicion. One, there are no minutes that exist.
Oh, okay. That's
What?
right. I read that.
Mhm.
Did you? How you not have minutes from a meet from
Well, you
meetings
making money
and
decisions.
and these are open meetings? How do you not have minutes? I read it in there. That was under the previous administration, right? The previous.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
How'd that happen? Inquiring.
I don't know.
Inquiring.
I don't know. I do know
That's
that
one of
there's
those-
also a resolution doesn't exist that would have given the board a specific amount that you know what they were. Now I'm not saying it didn't exist at that time.
They just are
now,
missing.
Yeah, now it doesn't exist. I haven't seen it.
Okay, you know what style. That's one of those.
Shenanigans.
I'm gonna go back to. I'm gonna go back
Shenanigans.
in time to Arsenio Hall. Things that make you go.
But again, so now you can see why my suspicions, my antennas started to go up.
Right, because you
if I'm
can't
looking
even
at,
follow.
right, I
the
can't see
logic
what the
of-
board was thinking at the time. I can't
Because
see.
there's no minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And
you know
there was no
what?
video available as well.
Okay.
So the video,
How do you do that?
the video surfaced a couple of weeks ago. So I have the video. That's why I can say this person did this and this person did this, but you can't see who was outside the camera.
But the
in
public
this.
doesn't know.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
What you been?
Mm-mm.
Isn't that
Some
something?
shenanigans.
Yeah, that's a good word for it too. But
Oh wow! So these comments are. I don't know if I need to read them or stay out of them.
Read the good ones and the bad ones too. I want to see the good
These
ones.
comments lit.
Yeah,
Go
read the
ahead,
good ones
read
and the
them
bad.
out.
If they talking about me,
that's
being
why
a
we're
good
doing
person.
this. That's why we're doing this.
It says, I don't know, Trevor, what you talking about? He said, in my personal opinion, it feels like a ploy to take the attention off of the investigation on Mick and Mac. MC and MAC.
That's what he called.
Oh, he said McIntyre. Mick and Mac.
Okay, I didn't know what he was talking about.
No.
All right,
That's
Trevor,
what
you
he
had me.
He was
Trevor.
being political correct.
Right.
Okay,
Well, we
thank
just
you
said,
for that.
We just said it now.
Because I heard some other nicknames he was.
And
Trevor,
Philip,
thank you.
Philip Lee says, if the paper is there on record and people can see it, the only thing to look at then is how the paper gets handled, and if anybody puts in fabricated statements or reports.
True.
And he said, check paper with paper.
Again, if this is not. I'm not a detective. I don't detect. I'm not a police officer. I'm not a lawyer nor an accountant. No, I'm not. And this and yeah, this thing again. I will say, 1 + 1 is 2. When 1 + 1 equals 37.
It went from 11 to 30.
It went from 11 to 37.
Then it's time to start asking some questions, and that's what I did.
Right.
Certain documentation was not available. Certain documentation didn't exist, as far as I know. Certain documentation that should have been there to be able, so we could see this is what the board did.
Right.
This is what the board thought.
And
this is
yes,
what they
exactly.
voted on, and all of that. It is not there. There was no video at first. There was, so now you can see why I'm looking
You
like.
do
Wait a
need an
minute.
investigation.
Yes, ma'am. And the audit said this, and then I start asking for this and this and this. This doesn't exist. This doesn't exist. This is, And then there's some other findings that the lady spoke on last night that also raised suspicions too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, we're in 2023. Why are we still using certain computer programs and doing certain things like this? And, we got to be innovative. We got to give it the program.
Right.
So.
Trevor says, how much is this audit going to cost the district, a ballpark?
I have no idea. A forensic audit, all I did was call one of our attorneys, and they said it's expensive. So, to me, expensive is $50. But expensive could be, when we're dealing with an audit. Well, I will say this: Attorney Lee said if we were to have her investigate, which we didn't, I'm glad, because there are certain board members that have certain feelings about
Right.
Attorney Lee, and they'll hear about that, eventually. But They said it could be anywhere between $15,000 and $30,000.
You could give it back from that employee.
We could, but then again,
to pay for it.
I don't know if we could, but that's an idea. But the thing is, what I thought was, if we already paid out $60,000, this should not have been paid out. And then we give another, I just lowballed it, $15,000. Then we somewhere around between $75,000 and $80,000 for this one specific incident that didn't benefit a child, a student, a scholar, a juvenile, right. So it didn't benefit any teachers.
Right, that's what I was going to say. Didn't do anything for teachers.
Any parapros, any support
services
staff,
that you need.
Anything that we need. It didn't benefit. It benefited one person, and I just felt like that was wrong. There are teachers, myself included, that spend their own money.
Right.
A lot of the time,
supplies.
Getting supplies
right.
and paper
doing
and
things for the kids.
Even science projects.
Right.
In my class, we about to do a volcano next week. And that, like, the school will pay for certain things, and I'm not, in no way am I, saying anything negative about, my employer. I'm just saying what it is. And when you get into this, when you first off, you got to realize when you be getting an education, you ain't gonna be rich. So you gotta realize that, and you're gonna have to use your own resources. So there are people that have sacrificed for the same amount of time, 30 years, 40 years.
They paid out.
Of course,
right.
They might have paid out.
Payout.
But then they get, when it's time for them to go, they get thank you for your services. Here's your $6,000, and y'all be on your way. But then there's someone who gets 60 who hasn't, and again, I said this in my speech, who hasn't worked with students, who has not worked on the front lines in the trenches. Because if you worked as a teacher or in a school, I was, it's hard. It's never always a sunny day when you're working in schools with kids. Even when it is a sunny day, you still have your incidents. You still have your students that have certain problems, or I don't want to say problems, I'll say issues that you have to deal with.
And you worrying about them going out in the sunshine.
Of course. So, so that's what made me, it's like, I can't just, we got teachers that are crying in the district, that are screaming out for us to help them. They want to leave. They can go to another district and get paid more with less issues.
And that's really problematic for the city of Flint.
Yeah.
People come here, they get trained, and
they go somewhere else.
They go somewhere else with less stress and more pay.
Yep.
We see it at the schools.
Yep.
We see it at the hospitals.
Yep.
We see it at the city.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like Flint is the training ground for other places to benefit from what we put into.
In addition to that, we make you rich too. We get you paid, and then you go on about the business.
Yep.
So Melissa Zaremski says, she had 2 comments, so I'm going to skip to her other comment. The schools need to do a better job with kids with mental or behavioral issues as well.
Yes.
And then she went on to say, my friend's son had a parapro, but his was apparently helping the teacher with the other students in the class, and he was a runner, if you know what I mean. So they're needing resources in the classrooms. They're needing the money to go to the classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Not
and
to
the
be
teachers.
Mismanaged.
Mm-hmm.
John Maley says, well, I'm done talking now. If you are saying there's no minutes, an investigation is truly in order. You know what? Me too.
Would you say that right there, John?
John Maley.
Oh, okay.
You said
there's nothing else to say.
Because you never heard of not having minutes. You can't find the minutes. You
have money.
You have no record.
That has been paid out in a manner. So you have money that was authorized in a manner that is out of procedure.
Right.
An amount that has never been there's 10 times what typically happens. And no minutes?
Nope.
Well, if it walks like shenanigans, and it talks like shenanigans,
then that's what it is.
So all jokes aside,
yes.
I commend you, because I know what you did was not the popular thing, and it would have been easy to say, you know what, before my time, not my problem.
Right.
I'm here to move on now. But I commend you for doing the right thing. The right thing is very rarely.
Sometimes you stand alone.
Right, and it's very rarely the easy thing. And people, you wanted to know what people are saying. Somewhere early on, people are thanking you.
That's a lot of comments.
You see that?
I'm scared to pick my phone up, but yeah.
People are thanking you because I think people understand why you felt compelled to do what you did. And like you said, you're hoping that they do the investigation and nothing happens, because nobody really wants to point fingers at people.
No.
But somehow the money does need to get back.
But the
to
money needs to get back to the schools.
You know, when we're talking about all the needs of this district, all of the needs that these kids, these students have, that the teachers need, the support staff, and we're just, you know, throwing money. It's like we're just.
And that's
playing.
why people get. That's why people get mad and frustrated.
And they leave. That's why they're leaving the school.
Because how dare I'm spending my money on volcanoes and y'all giving away almost $60,000 extra on top of what people are going to get. But can't nobody give me money to make sure I got supplies.
I mean, this is not. I don't work in the Flint schools. I'll say that, you know. But this is around the board. This is not just, you know, Flint schools. This is not just Detroit. Teachers go the extra mile in every district. In every district in the world, teachers don't just stop at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock.
No, because they're going home.
Yes.
They're going over their notes.
Lesson
they're
plans.
Trying to see what do they need to get for tomorrow. What supplies? You'll run into teachers at Target, at all these stores getting supplies for their for their students.
Yes, ma'am. It's true. I'll tell you this. I'll even go one further.
Okay.
I was the board just got back from a conference in Orlando.
Yes, we heard. They talked about that yesterday.
They did, and rightfully so. Rightfully so. I remember I was getting ready to go to one of our sessions, and I got a call from a number I didn't recognize, so I picked it up. And you know, when you get a call like that, you're like, "Hello," you know, you try to make yourself sound tougher. "Hello, who is this?" So it just so happened to be one of my students. Like, "Mr. Clack, you ain't tough." But he asked me,
I am.
He said, "Can you please cash out me some money?" And I'm like, "Where's your mom?" You know what I mean? And I didn't want to ask, like, "No, I ain't about to. Where your mom at?" You know, but it was like, if he reached out to me over spring break, he obviously needed it. Right. He obviously needed it. You know? And so when I say, and I'm not just saying that because it's me, I'm saying that because I have a lot of friends that work in education, and I know what we do. You know, I know what they do. Right. You know, so there are, you know, everybody's, and that's in every job, every, you know, genre. There are good people and there are bad people. But as far as teachers, you know, I'm until the day I die, I'm going to scream at the highest for the teachers.
Exactly.
You know? Because teachers are in charge of training the future. So you can't, in my mind, you can't shortcome them. Right. You know what I mean? Like, we need to pay our teachers. Like, they're going to leave and we're not going to have a district. And who's going to,
and that's what they do. And
as a Viking, as a Wildcat, as a, you know, as a, like, we have.
I mean, we're products of the Flint public school system.
Yes,
which, and while we have rivalries, we were proud to be products of the Flint community.
The rivalry was part of the pride.
Right.
Yes.
We all, you know, we all in this together.
And then you hear these kinds of things going on, and you wonder, you know, what's happened? What's going on?
How did we come from this?
Right.
You know, from
to one of the best school systems in the country,
in the world,
and now look at what is going on.
Yep, one of the best public school examples in the world. Because I remember, I'll say this again. I said this the last time I was on y'all show. I remember when I was in the first grade at Walker. I don't know if they were Chinese or Japanese, but there were people walking around and they were showing these group of people the model of the community schools, of the Flint community schools. And that was Flint. That was like 85, 86. I'm telling my age, but
Flint was the model.
Right. And so I remember that. So to go from that to one high school, barely one high school, you know, it's like,
it makes you angry. It does. It makes you angry. It makes you angry. I'm back in these. Trevor walks like shenanigans, talks like shenanigans, fraud and corruption.
It's a duck.
So I'm trying to get at least some from everybody who's in here, because people are really engaged. Thank you for that.
Right. But people want to know what's going on.
Of course, they have a right to
know what's going on. They have a right to know what's going on. And like I said, these are public meetings.
Yes, ma'am.
And to not be able to find a documentation of a public meeting.
Where you gave somebody 10 times.
Right. To not be able to find documentation of what was going on during that time. So you can see.
Let me also put into perspective
something.
The person who was responsible for taking those minutes is also the same person who received the payout.
Okay.
What?
Okay.
This
bye.
Thank you for joining.
Wait a minute. Say that again. What'd you say? Say what?
I don't know if the minutes ever existed, so I will say allegedly. I don't know. But the person who is responsible, or it was their responsibility to take those minutes and to publish them, or however they do, is the same person who received the payout. So now you can see again with the other things that I've said, you can start to see why my antennas. Now you see why my antennas start to, you know. I need to drink too with my water.
Right there, I almost grabbed it.
And I'm mad I left mine.
I mean, okay, I don't even know what else to say, really.
Somebody going to jail.
The person.
Do I sound like a siren? No? Okay. We have a siren?
Somebody.
Oh,
Mickey, I'm going to ask you to read this comment. Asia Akil's comment.
I got it. Hey, Mama Akil. Which one you want me to read?
Starts with well.
Well, damn. She said, you just made my head numb.
I mean, that. You know what? And thank you for what you did.
Right.
Thank you.
Seriously.
Really.
So, again, I will say most, if not all, of the information that I have received that I judged my,
that's crazy.
It's public record. You can get it from the website. Not all of it, but most of it.
Okay, we
getting comments from everywhere. So Philip Lee, the disparities all the way down the chain from federal to district is a huge piece of what needs to be restructured and have the right people running it. Is that the one I'm supposed to read?
Well, that's true.
Otherwise, it is more and more respective. These book bans, I don't know what that was. These book bans and subject restrictions are a sign of that. I'll say it again. When you do any action as a body, it goes on her, copy it, and it gets filed and becomes record.
It's supposed to.
What the heck?
It's supposed to. That just. Oh, there's another one.
I read all of Philip's. Oh, okay, Trevor. Here's what scares the living hell out of me. Flint is actually particularly well-funded district, but so little of the money actually reached the students. That's why I'm proud of my vote for Mr. Michael Clack, and I'm extremely happy with his performance thus far.
I appreciate it, Trevor.
And then he also said, love us some Dr. Karen Williams Weaver, Miss Jameca, and Mr. Clack. I had to read that one.
Thank you. Back at you too. You didn't want us to get that part. But this, this is just the reading. This is crazy. This is really, that makes no sense. None.
So again, now you can see why when I stepped in the door and I started.
And you said it's an investigation going on.
What is going on here?
Yeah, that's a lot.
What is going on here?
That warrants an investigation. And if anybody had any questions before now,
they're gonna have some more.
Right. And I hope they understand why you did what needed to be done, what was the right thing to do. And like you said, if they come up with nothing, they come up with nothing.
Now I will also put this out there too.
Okay.
I might be saying a little bit much, but at this point, I don't care. I'm a human being first. So when you start to do things to me, I react as a human being. I'm a president somewhere 3rd, 4th, 5th down the line. I'm a man, I'm a father. So president is way down there somewhere. So there is a particular board member that has FOIA'd our emails multiple times. Also has told me to my face that they have contacted the Attorney General to report me. I've been on this board. I was voted in on November 8th. We were sworn in November something. I was sworn in on December 8th. I took presidency January, the first meeting in January. Even if I came into the district with the specific mindset of stealing and robbing the district blind, what could I have done in a month or 2 or 3 that would warrant all of that attention?
Mhm.
Again, I have done nothing because everything I do, I check with bylaws, I check with policy, and I also get a legal opinion. So nothing that I've done, I'm not going to jail. I didn't do anything wrong, and I don't plan on it. I didn't do anything wrong, and I'm not going to do anything wrong. And this, I don't plan on tolerating wrongdoing as well. But now you can see why my antennas started going up. It's like if you don't FOIA my emails multiple times in a month, in a 2-3 month span, and then you call the attorney general, and I ain't gonna lie, I was scared. I'm not gonna lie. When that was told to me, it was like I was scared. Like, even though I haven't done nothing wrong, I'm not perfect. I might got a ticket or 2 that ain't been paid. So,
right. So what they gonna do?
As I'm hearing investigation and attorney general, I'm thinking, boom, ching ching, hard door slam, and I'm writing my mama now, so I didn't know what I was doing. I'm gonna get a number right here, in red. I mean, in orange. I'm wearing orange, so it just scared me to death. And so I started thinking, you ain't done nothing.
Right.
You haven't even been here long enough if you wanted to do something. But you ain't gonna do nothing like that because, for one, you wasn't raised like that. For 2, you a product of this district, so you ain't gonna steal from it.
Right.
What is this? What is this?
So there's a status quo system in place here in the city of Flint, and they want to keep it in place.
Of course.
I'm just going to tell you, they want to keep it in place. And when you start upsetting the apple cart, it's a problem.
Well, I do.
And they do those things to intimidate you and to scare you and to get you to back down.
It worked for about 8 hours.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's
I was drinking Pepto-Bismol like water. I ain't gonna lie to you, it worked. I had people praying for me. I was calling everybody.
We're still praying for you because to be in that position is rough.
Yep. When you're the person trying to do good, you already know.
Yeah, I was calling all type of pastors. And I do want to say thank you to everybody that lifted up a prayer for me on that day, because I'm telling you, I was drinking Pepto like water, and I was taking the pills and everything. Like, I didn't even Pepto.
It was like
I was
Skittles.
sucking on the tablets. It was just, in my stomach was like in knots.
Well, Mike, we're not going to ignore the fact that you are a black man in America.
Right.
And the law enforcement has been weaponized against our black men. So for somebody to make that threat unwarranted toward you, it's enough that it's jarring, because you don't have to do anything for stuff to happen.
Right.
So don't feel bad. You gotta take the Pepto.
Now look, I will also say this: that particular day was one of them days we had ice storm, and me being a polite gentleman that I try to be, I was walking this particular board member to their car, and they told me this to my face. Now, I
know you aren't going to tell me. You aren't going to sit here and tell us you were being nice to this person. It's an ice storm. I'm going to walk you out so you don't fall. And they're going to turn and say, oh, yeah, by the way, I called the AG on you.
Yes, ma'am. That's just how. No, it was. I want this board to be run right. And I said, well, so do I. What you say? And they said, I just want to let you know that I've contacted the Attorney General. And I'm like,
so did you say, I just want this board to be
I
right?
I did. I said,
and so I want you to know, I've contacted the state police.
No, I didn't say none of that. Because we're not doing 101s. Again, I ran on transparency. So
you told them.
Yes, I'm telling you in front of the board, in front of the city, in front of the world. You can see what I said.
And now here on 810 News Media, we're telling it again.
Yes. So to continue with that, as we walking out the door of the administration building.
Wow.
When they said this, we walking out the door, and I'm like,
what you say?
What you say? Like,
what you say? What you talking about, Willis?
Like, yeah,
wait a minute. You said, give me my
arm. Like, hold on. Like, I'm trying to make sure you good, and you trying to make sure. Like, what are we doing? again, I will say I'm a human first. So
That's
if
right.
you, if you know, when you say something like that to me, it's like, wait a minute now.
Give me my arm back.
Yeah. Hope you
Mama
fall.
Kim said you should have let her fall on the ice.
See, now, I
He took his arm back.
He did take his arm back.
at that point, I thought there was nothing for me to say because I was out in my mind. I'm being recorded. I'm being, you know, I didn't know what
Don't
to
say
expect.
nothing out of
You know,
line.
so I'm
That's
not.
something. You know what? Wow. And shoot, what? We still have a few minutes. We have a few minutes.
We
But
do.
what do you have they outlined at all? What next steps are? What's
As far as the
next?
investigation goes,
That or
well, I do know the detective sergeant who I reached out to, who has elected to do the investigation. He will start the interview process. I'm not sure if it's going to be on Monday, but it wouldn't be this week because he's got a jury trial down in Ann Arbor this week.
interviewing people all over the place.
Hey, people all over the place need to be interviewed.
You heard it here first.
People all over the place need to be interviewed. That is
Mhm.
absolutely right.
People all over.
I wish I had a song I could sing about it, but that is the truth. There needs to be an investigation going on, and people need to know. We deserve to know. We have a right to know how these things happen, because that makes you say, if that happened, what else has happened?
And also,
what else has happened that we don't know about, and there are no minutes about?
Yep. Yes, Miss Helen. To answer your question, yes.
What was the question?
Was it the same person who got the overpayment?
Oh,
yes.
Yes. People can't believe that one. Now,
Yeah,
come
right.
on. Who would believe that? I'm gonna take minutes for this meeting. Oh, by the way,
the video is there though. The video for this meeting is there. It's not allegedly. It's definitely here. It's gonna be up on A1.
Okay, we're gonna want to know what is the process for. We got some chatter from the studio audience. She said, and the chatter was, it's gonna be on 810 because people do need to see.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because really, we're trying to reestablish trust throughout this city,
throughout
this entire city.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see these kinds of things happening, it's like, here we go again. This is just another incident. And so for you to bring this up is wonderful.
And just to remind people, like, this is Black Money Matters. Education is the cheat code. This is the basic education that you take and you go out and get a trade, or you go to college, or you use those soft skills and go directly into, the workforce. And when you take any dollar,
right, this is how we make sure our young people are prepared for whatever career path they decide to take, and they're being cheated and robbed.
And when you take any dollar, some of those kids, you talked about this at the very beginning, we have some amazing sports talent. We have amazing theater talent. We have, and all of these programs are being cut and we can't fund them. Nobody should take from Flint Community Schools.
Right.
Nobody should take from our
thank you.
Those are our kids.
Right. So also I would like to point out that we have the choir from Southwestern. They went to the state competition and they did very well. I don't want to give wrong statistics, but they did very well. So I would like to give them a shout out.
Awesome.
So
that's the Flint High School now, right?
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah, I want to give them a shout
Flint
out.
Community.
Also, there are some kids that have some amazing artwork. I forget the art teacher's name over at Flint Southwestern.
Mm-hmm.
But I went over a couple weeks ago when I had a day off, and she just showed me some of this amazing art that these kids have. That they've done, and we've got to highlight our kids. We've got to highlight our talent. We got to put them up on a pedestal so they know that they're appreciated and supported.
Yes, they do. They need to know. So how long will it be on display for? A long time? How long will it be on display?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, we want people to see it because we need to be celebrating them instead of stealing from them.
Yep.
Now that's what we need to be doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's what we need to be
doing.
1,000%. So before we go out, is there something that we haven't asked you? Is there something that you want to make sure people know?
Well, yeah. If you've been paying attention to me, I ran on transparency and truth. Okay, and this is right up that alley. Again, I haven't done anything wrong. nefarious, malicious, and and anywhere on those in that negative light. And if I can help it, neither will the board.
Mhm.
You know, I again, I'm only speaking for myself at this point, but this is transparent as you can get.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I felt that we needed to have an investigation, and the public needed to know.
Mm-hmm.
And I will update. You know,
Please.
even if the board doesn't allow me to do it on the stage because they were kind of trying to block me yesterday from speaking. So hopefully you guys will invite me back here. So
Absolutely.
You got an open invitation.
Anytime.
So I choose not to go live with certain things. Well, I haven't been live since I've been elected board member, but I just feel like that would not be the right thing to do. Appropriate for me to go live and talk about certain things. So I just don't. But I don't mind talking, to those that are interested, and speaking my truth and speaking what really happened.
And I'm gonna tell you something that I hate is that, and I think it's a way to dilute the power and the voice, because if you look at it, last night it was a board of education meeting.
Mm-hmm.
There was a council. There was a meeting last night,
Yeah.
and really we need to be knowing what's going on in both places,
Mm-hmm.
and we can't do that, and that happens a lot because sometimes there will be a commissioner meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And it divides us up,
Mm-hmm.
and so you can't get those people there
Right.
that you need to have there.
Right.
So that's why I'm glad you're doing this and letting people
somebody
know.
who was at another meeting last night got an opportunity to hear
Of
what
course.
happened at this meeting. Yeah.
And I'm glad that you came. You said, no, I'm going to talk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk because people will want to know what's going on,
Mhm.
and they should know
Mm-hmm.
what's going on. And so I'm glad you came and did this.
And this is important. This is so important because these are our kids. It doesn't get too much more important than our kids and their futures. Their future is our future. I want to keep. When I'm, a few years from now, and they graduate, and I want them to know what they're doing.
Of course.
When they, in that workforce, doctors, lawyers, whatever they gonna do. So
I teach my kids to be better than me.
Right.
So even with my sixth graders, I have 2 or 3 sixth graders that we conduct class in Robert's rules.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they ask me a question, they point of information.
Teach
them. One of them heard me on the phone the other day, and I got mad. I was talking about something. They said, point of order. You cuss, Mr. Clack. And I'm like, wait a minute, boy, you can't be checking me. How you didn't even hear me? You weren't in the clouds by myself. But, it's just, you can tell when you start to rub off on them. Because,
right.
You influence the what you put into them, it
right.
definitely will come out.
It will come out.
So I wanted to add that because if you invest in them, you might not think that they're paying attention.
But you find out.
Yes,
they are paying attention. They are.
Yes.
They're watching.
You find out that they are
paying attention.
They are.
Wow. It's time for us to go, but I'm so glad you came, and you do have an open time. I was gonna say I am not done talking. You have an open invitation to come anytime. I want to tell people to stay tuned for the Winners Hall show. That's coming up next, so stay tuned for that.
It's gonna be, as Winters would say, it's gonna be a banger.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thank you, President Clack.
Thank you for having me.